that black people cannot be fed nutritionally the same foods as Caucasians because of the deficiencies that it would create. So whoever this person is making these statements, too bad they have to go argue with the data that's been collected over hundreds of years from tens of thousands of samples. This is not just a little study on 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
They've been collecting blood on thousands and thousands of school children, thousands and thousands of people hospitalized, and this is what they put out. Now, do you think that I have gone to one continuing medical education meeting on this given by the AMA?
Heck no.
Even though these doctors are attending black people in hospitals that hospitalize almost 100% black patients, they are still using Caucasian standards. Even though it's known that our hemoglobin is different at different levels than theirs, that our white blood cell counts are different. And it's time out for that now. This is the year 2000, and medicine must catch up. We are galactic beings, and it's embarrassing that here we are on Earth, and we've got the nerve to try to get up to the moon, go to Mars, and we can't even accept the uniqueness of another person based on their skin color and the texture of their hair. But, oh, we want to be so happy and glad to go up here and deal with our sisters and brothers that may only have one eye, 2 fingers, and might be 12 feet tall. Now, you're going to embrace that so dearly, but you can't speak to me on the street. We need to stop these lies and illusions and take care of home first.
You ever think about opening up a church too, sister? Because you preach it.
Oh, wow.
This is so powerful.
Well, you
it's
just
so
hit
good,
my
sister.
passion, because I don't like the illusion of death. I don't like having to go out and tell the relatives of these people that they died. Now, if you want to die, you can do that. That's your own free will. But, you know, to me it's a different story when you come up in the hospital, because I'm assuming that you're coming saying that you really want to live. And it's my responsibility then to give you the 100% school try to make that happen. And when we intentionally withhold information from the physicians that are responsible for helping that to happen, then the whole thing is a lie.
So, sister, you are talking to a whole bunch of physicians now. I mean, we are in the belly of the beast. We are at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We are in the intellectual mecca of the world, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
And they know what I'm talking about because they have the data in their databanks. They just do not disseminate it to the general public. So they're not shocked. They just probably are shocked that somebody is saying it because it should have been kept under lock and key. That's probably what they're thinking.
Well,
Black Talk Radio.
How can we, those of us that aren't in the know, what references, what resources, what other things can we read to catch up with your scope of knowledge?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Just subscribe to the Scientific American. Scientific American is putting out beautiful work on the latest that they can get a hold of and actually translate for layman intellect to be able to understand what's really available and what's happening. The neuroscientists, some of these magazines are much more difficult, and if you haven't been trained in the nomenclature of medicine, it's difficult for you to translate.
Mm-hmm.
But Scientific America is excellent. Discover magazine is another that's excellent. That's bringing you up to par about what's happening. And if my colleagues are still sitting up there not reading these magazines and seeing what's actually coming off of the lab tables, then shame on them. And they should be embarrassed when the patients can bring the magazine and ask them, why haven't you told me this?
What about some more of your books, Doctor?
Well, I'm in the process of writing some special things. I'm in the process of completing this book entitled The Uterus, A Cosmic Science. Okay, because I'm very concerned about how women do not understand that this is a divine, awesome organ. And so now when they've gotten to the point where they can now grow uteruses from tissue culture in a petri dish and sell it to you, every woman should basically think about, if she's had a hysterectomy, how could this be? Because I was even taught in medical school that you tell the ladies that, well, you know, it's no big thing. You know, you're not going to have any more children. You really don't need it, so we just might as well take it out.
Wrong.
Okay. And my thing is that, you know, if it's so important now, why are we spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars now growing them in the petri dish? The occasion where a woman is born without a uterus is so rare per 100,000 people that it doesn't warrant that you would put that kind of energy into being able to grow a uterus from tissue. So now this is available. You can go right to the magazine. They got pictures of them. You can see them. Nice little pair of red
I saw pictures yesterday
so they've got
of
billions
noses
of women
and
walking around here without their uterus. Their bladders are prolapsing. Their rectums are bulging out. Their omentum is hanging and sagging down off of the colon, causing them all kind of problems because the total anatomy of the pelvic floor has been interrupted. And so now they're going to offer this as a solution. My thing is that, this is just totally inappropriate. And we need to start relishing the order and the brilliance of the human body and want to protect that until we can do better.
Let me share this with you, Doctor. At this media conference at the Whitehead Institute yesterday, Nina began to mention, yes, I actually saw them. They talked about the nose and ears is only cartilage, and we can actually grow that. And they grew a human ear and put it on a rabbit.
Of course. Of course, this is what the coffee drinking, cigarette smoking scientists are thinking about.
Let's put an ear on a rabbit.
Right. I mean, this is what they're thinking about, and this is why there's going to be serious energetic consequences for that, because it's a misuse of energy. This is what I'm talking about. Everything is energy, and it's a misuse of energy, and it's really true that the chickens do come home to roost.
Well, if people
I had to speak to Eric Lander yesterday, the head of the Genome Project at the Whitehead Institute. One of the things that he was very passionate about, and I actually take my hat off to him over that, is the whole notion of ethics in all of this.
Yeah,
that,
it's a serious problem.
That there needs to be legislation that puts the brakes on, that has a very strong barrier, because corporations are motivated to do things for profit, not for ethics, not for what's moral, not what's for the people, but for profits.
Well, I'm telling you, this is a serious problem, and with all of these synthetic foods that people are gulping down, they come up with these very bizarre, very disrespectful ideas. And I'm saying it again, the cigarette smoking, coffee drinking scientists, because if you really do the study on what coffee and cigarettes or nicotine does to the brain, you can understand then why taking and making a human ear and putting it on a rabbit is not a problem.
Well, what does, if you could just elaborate just a little bit for some of our listeners, what does coffee do to the brain?
Well, coffee basically stimulates the acuity centers of the brain so that where you normally would not have interest in a subject, it immediately motivates you to be able to pay attention. Okay, so you have to understand then that it overrides a genuine emotional response. That's how so many people are able to go to jobs that they hate every day and be able to crank out a decent product that the owner of the business are paying for.
That's why there's a Starbucks in every corner right here in Massachusetts and Cambridge.
But it breeds mediocrity. It breeds mediocrity. It does not bring about excellence, because an individual who genuinely loves what they're doing does not have to take a drug to make them pay attention.
We were talking about you just referenced the mind and how to pay attention, and you mentioned ADD before, and at the top of the show we started talking about MCAS. If black people and white people are different, do we learn differently too?
Of course. Of course.
So making a black student take the MCAS test, is that, I mean, we wouldn't learn the same thing?
Well, let me just say this. There's so many factors involved in this. That's a whole course and a whole lecture I could give you over a month's time.
And why
the key here is this, is that we have to recognize that there are 8 segments of the brain that are supposed to be developed during a human being's lifetime. Depending on the environment they're exposed to, depending upon the food that they eat, what we're seeing now is that this society in the Western world only develops 2 segments. So that lets you know that they're walking around with almost 80% of their brain tissue underactive. So therefore, we're looking at a society that's trying to idealize a reality that is not near what the real picture should be about. So the idea here of really understanding how a child learns, what is the ideal setting for learning, etc., cannot be created until there's a mass drive of looking at education from the anatomy of the human. Not that we're interested in driving and making people be able to fill these 100,000 computer jobs, or not that we're interested in making sure that there's enough people who are going to be technically sound to work on the new aircraft and spaceships we want to make, but it's like,